Bioshock 1, it's the second one was a pretty good game, but I don't know that it was something that people were thinking we need a sequel in Rapture.
Right.
So I don't know what they're doing with Bioshock 4. It's kind of it's an interesting thing to me. Like maybe they have I'm sure they solved that problem, but for me, Prey had a little bit of the same challenge. It's that's it. You wrapped it. The story was there. That experience, and then you might as well do another game of that kind. This time in trapped in a mall with zombies, and then you have
right.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that would be really hard to like do a sequel. It just my mind went straight to like I swear it would have to be like a Half-Life style game, like a Half-Life 2 almost. You know what I mean? Where it's like
that was kind of the idea. We're thinking on Earth, and then the problem is then you change the format, and if you change the format, how much of the game is attached to the format? That kind of closed in, very zoomed in type of detail, where every room matters. And that claustrophobic kind of thing, like where you explore an entire station and try to find all the the resource you can find in the station, that was really part of the identity of this game. That doesn't really translate if you're gonna go open city and now walk around in town.
Yeah. So speaking of Half-Life 2, Ravenholm. How good was that going to be? It looked very ambitious. Obviously, it never came to fruition. But just what exactly was kind of planned for it? Because I'm familiar with Half-Life 2, but not so much your involvement with something like Ravenholm.
Yeah, it was great, frankly, and I think the people at Valve who tried it would agree. Who tried it, if they were asked, they would pretty agree. The thing though is that we needed another year.
Yeah.
At least 6 months, and Valve had a very clear business plan for those episodes. They were trying to make the episode business work, and they could not internally because the costs were too high. So they tried with us, and we had 12 months. 12 months to build anything is really, really hard. And after 12 months, we had, frankly, an alpha. We had the entire game that was playable from beginning to the end. We had like one or two of the cinematographic moments that were really polished and very impressive. And but then we would have to add another 6 months, maybe more, to make it where they should be. And so that was not going to work for Valve in terms of that the business model that they wanted to put together. And for us, it was still great though, because it was a lot of people that joined Arkane wanted to try that episode. They had seen it. It was the same for The Crossing, which was another game that never saw the day.
We're going to talk about The Crossing in a bit as well. Yeah.
And so both for The Crossing and both for Ravenholm, one of the, let's say, rituals of when we had a new hire for around those years anyway, was that they were gonna play test those two games. And people really, really loved them. It was a nice bonding experience, and for us it was also, we learned so much. I mean, of course, when the game got canned, we were devastated. This is the worst day of my life, etc. Like every time you have a breakup or anything that you can imagine. But in reality, what we did not know is that Ravenholm was school for us. It was we were graduating. It was that's also when Victor Antonov was working with us, and he trained us to all of their practice in terms of art, in terms of how to think of a level, how to think of architecture, how to architect your team so that you have groups of people that work on some specific things in specific ways that Valve did it.
Right.
And of course, we adapted it as well. We did it more like our own way. But at the end of the day, that encounter with Victor was pivotal to what would become Arkane later. And I can't, of course, I'm sure you guys know, he's passed maybe 2 months ago. And that was very, very hard. for all his friends and people who knew him well. He was a fantastic artist with a very interesting personality. It was he had so much charisma, and everybody who's met him had like some sort of felt hypnotized by this very specific person. And but he was some sort of a genius, and yes, he really participated to making Arkane what it became.
He came up with the art style for Dishonored, correct? Or at least had a big part in it?
Well, it was a collaboration between Sébastien Mitton, who was the art director and he's also the same art director of Blade right now. And I've worked with Sébastien before, working with Victor. And when Victor started to work with us, he really bonded with Sébastien, and they became and at some point. Sébastien was on his own. Like he did Dishonored 2 on his own. I mean, with his own, a lot of other concept artists obviously did not do it on his own, but he was directing it, and Victor was not in the perimeter anymore. So I think I would say yes, there is a lot of Victor in Dishonored, but there's also a lot of Sébastien Mitton and other artists.
He was also really responsible for that kind of interesting European blend that was in Half-Life 2, right? Among other things. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. He was a Bulgarian guy, and he's the one who offered to this very intimidating company called Valve. He told them, I have an idea, and they followed him. Which kudos to them.
Worked out.
That.
Yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah. So we mentioned the crossing. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I thought it was a really cool thing in retrospect to realize how many games I've appreciated the look and feel of them and didn't know why yet until I saw the name of the credits and was like, now it's all coming together.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
They're just seeping out of,
Yeah. But you mentioned the crossing, and didn't they revisit kind of the gameplay of that with Deathloop? And you have any thoughts on that?
A little bit, because they did the fact that you can invade the session of other players. But I would say since then it's been existing by other people. What we're doing in the crossing was a little different. It was like an asymmetrical game where you had one hero and 4 players that would possess the enemies. In fact, I think there was to some degree Left 4 Dead did that too.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, with their versus mode.
Yeah, and the only difference is that we had a story though. It was like it was served into a story, and then people would dissolve at the end of that section of the story, and then reappear in the next section, etc. It really worked. It was. I've never seen a game since then doing it. To the same level as what we were going for.
So that means some of that idea also bled into Weird West with the way you do the main protagonist, then. I like and to a degree, I guess, like with the
not
each
really.
character is kind of like going into the next.
Yeah, I see what you mean. This is more like of a story ploy, whereas in the case of the crossing, it was actually gameplay.
Okay.
Where you were a multiplayer. You were playing the multiplayer enemies, basically. You were just playing the bad guys.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Why did you choose to do Weird West in third person? It's like ImSim's really are very rarely third person, so it was quite a unique design choice.
Yeah, we after I left Arkane in 2017 after Prey, and for a variety of reasons, including so much frustrations with the corporate world, with the size of the budgets, the size of the teams, etc., and some other personal stuff. I didn't even know if I really truly wanted to make games anymore, and